Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Worthy Conversation. I'm your host, your boy Wade J, and today we are discussing one of the most important issues facing our families, our churches, school, workplaces, and yes, our community, which is mental health. You know, for too long, mental health have been misunderstood, ignored, or hidden behind shame. And y'all know what I'm talking about, people. But today we are talking about solutions, education, healing, and hope. So today, guys, listen, I got my brother Terrence Randolph in the studio with me today. And this brother, I've been trying to get him on. He was busy last episode, but I got him today for you all. You asked for it. We want more information about mental health, and we're going to bring it to you. Okay? Everybody, let's put our hand together for brother Terrence. Listen, our guest is helping change conversation through mental health evolution, also known as MHE. And today we are going to learn about 4 pillars of mental health, why education matters, and how organization can be part of the solution. And today, you know, we're just going to break the stigma through education about mental health. Brother Terrence, welcome, brother.
Thank you, Brother Wade.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Listen, Brother Terrence, tell us about yourself, however you want to tell us about, and what inspired you to start Mental Health Evolution.
For starters, I'm Terrence Randolph, University of North Carolina, Charlotte graduate, Army veteran, former probation officer in the great state of Mecklenburg County, there as we call it. But most recently, over the past few years, I went through a divorce with my first wife, and this is how I ended up dealing with mental health. Went through a divorce, going to work every day. Big shout out to Central Piedmont Community College because that's where I was working at. And I had an older gentleman who was also a veteran. He kind of pulled me to the side and told me, I looked like I was on Skid Row in California. At that time, I was in my 30s.
Wow.
I didn't understand what he meant by Skid Row, so he told me, that's that row where it's a bunch of homeless people. So long story short, I was going to work every day, depressed, angry, mad, wanting to fight. And so something happened one day. I contacted my supervisor, and he told me, he said, AT, go over there, use your EAP, you get some free counseling services. I went over there, got those hours, but I also utilized my veterans benefits and got me a psychiatrist, a counselor, and a peer team. Now, why is that all important? Because I was in my 30s, and that was the first time I ever had a black man talk to me about mental health.
Wow.
And his name is Mr. Green, and I told him I love that guy because it opened up my eyes to what mental health is and not what I thought it was. And so that put me on my journey for understanding mental health. Now, let's fast forward. You asked a profound question. You said, what got me to start MHE? Well, I was a NAMI outreach coordinator for NAMI Piedmont Tri-County for Chester County. And one of the things I was realizing was telling people about getting in support groups, they need to understand why. They needed to know why. Parents need to know why. They should be attentive when it comes to learning about mental health, right? And so it was a tragic story for me, but it inspired me, meaning in 2023, my wife and I, my current wife, we had just came back from the Dominican Republic, having a great time drinking and partying. Found out on Thanksgiving Day she was pregnant. Fast forward, that same year, my father's birthday was December 11th. He just turned 72. I had just started working for NAMA PTC, and my father died 2 days before Christmas that same year in 2023. Now, all of a sudden, at 22 weeks, my wife and I found out our son had esophageal atresia and tetralogy flow, meaning his throat didn't connect, his heart had a valve that wouldn't shut.
Wow.
So he was facing an uphill battle, but he came at 33 weeks. He was thriving. He was looking good. He was gaining weight. He was getting prepared for his big boy surgery, I call it, until a tragedy happened. So that was 2 days before my 48th birthday in 2024. So my son died October 11th, my birthday, October 13th. That same year, our dog, beloved dog Roxy, had to be put down 2 days before Thanksgiving. So I'm dealing with 3 levels of grief and hurt and pain. I actually had reached and contacted my psychiatrist for medication, thinking it was for my father's death. Little did I know it was for my son's. And so, working with NAMI, I kept going, kept thriving, kept trying to put more good into the universe. Until I talked to my psychologist one day, and she told me, she said, Terrence, you got to have grace with yourself. You're a beautiful person. You're trying so hard to do so much good that I'm scared you'll fizzle out. And so it got to that point where working at NAMI, trying to tell people about why they should get involved with support groups, why they should address their mental health, I noticed it was a miscommunication between the communities and the healthcare providers. Now, I'm not a clinician. I teach non-clinical mental health education based on the 4 pillars, which is your brain. When my son transitioned, I went and got a certification in neuroscience because I wanted to understand what my brain was actually going to be processing.
Wow.
Then I started with the physical. So I looked at how my physical was going to be handling this, meaning stress, tension. Would I continue to work out? Would I start drinking more? Then I started looking at my faith, my spirituality. How does that impact me? Then I look at the last pillar, which is nutrition. How does this all impact us? So basically, I took a grief certification, neuroscience certification, and realized like our minds had so much to process going through grief, going through stress. And that's how the 4 pillars came about, because I want people to understand every day these 4 pillars are impacted.
Yeah.
And how do we build resilience? How do we get education in a non-clinical way? Through the MHE 4 pillars, which can be used to talk about how domestic violence impacts your 4 pillars. It's used for foster children, how growing up in a foster system with trauma can impact these children's behavior in schools. So all these pillars that we have are based on everyday life situations, whether it's incarceration, school children, gun violence, etc. So that's how so MHE came about due to tragedy and loss of my son and my father and my dog. And my son is, I tell people my son is the driving force behind this.
So go back to there, because I know we was talking off the camera. Your son is actually the one who put you on this road to destiny for mental health.
Yes. For mental health evolution, this is all based off of Hendricks Lamar Randolph.
Wow.
Rest in peace, son.
Yes, sir.
It's all based
Amen.
off of him, because this is what he put me on this mission for. And I tell people all the time, as I told you earlier, I didn't ask for this. I promise you I did not want this, but I know it's bigger than myself. And I know when somebody can see myself and my wife continue to move forward and grieve, mourn, but still love the life that he had and love the life that he has given me, the purpose, that's how you continue to honor him, in my opinion. And he really is the driving force behind this for me.
Good. Man, amen. That's outstanding. Sorry to hear about your son, your father, and your dog. But at least right now, I see you on the road to healing, to actually helping others to heal, which is a great mission to be on. Now, Terrence, for too long, mental health has been misunderstood, ignored, or hidden behind shame. Why? Let's talk about the brothers first. Why does brothers hide behind the shame of mental illness? Why are we so afraid? Why are we so ashamed to put it out there for the masses?
I think a lot of times, us as black men, we look at it as weakness.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to tell our community is, it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength to address something that you don't understand. So many times we've been taught, you don't talk about it. You go to church, you pray about it. You don't tell what happens in this house stays in this house. And a lot of times that's abuse and trauma.
Yes.
And when you're a child or you're an adult and you're dealing with that physical abuse, sexual assault, that can lead to suicidal tendencies.
Wow.
So us as men, we have taken on this machoism and thinking that not talking about mental health, not addressing my mental health, not taking my medication is brave. It's not brave. It's idiotic in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because it's detrimental. Not only to yourself but your loved ones.
Yeah,
because
it could cause you to
could
harm
cause
somebody else.
It
Yeah.
could
Hurt your
cause
family members.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things we don't want. What we want to do, especially with MHE, is teach the brothers in the community to look out for each other and look out for these signs. And that's one of the things when I was an outreach coordinator I really did enjoy was getting educated and learning that there are signs. There are signs for suicide.
Right.
One of the biggest signs is people start giving away things. So when I see a brother who starts giving away something, especially a momentum that is a treasure to that brother, then I know it might be something off where he may be thinking about dying by suicide.
Right.
You notice I said dying by suicide because we don't say commit suicide. We say dying by suicide. So that's one of the things that stigma constantly follows us and thinking that we have to be macho and it's strength and not talking about it. It's not strength. It's strength when you can ask for help.
Yeah. I call it wisdom, man. I call it wisdom. I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I try to share it with the brothers and sisters I meet today. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom that you take and having enough wisdom to try to help yourself. Because here's the thing, Brother Terrence, how can you help someone else when you're not even helping yourself?
Right, and that goes back to one of the things. It's like love. When you can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself.
There you go.
That's
bro.
just what it is. And one of the things that I really want people to understand about MHE is you'll hear me say all the time, we're non-clinical, meaning I'm not a clinician. My degrees aren't in mental health. But my experience has been an outreach coordinator. My experience has been an advocate. I've seen how mental health can impact us in a positive and negative way. We all know I'm a veteran, so 22 veterans die by suicide a day. So for me, that number is too high. For anybody, it should be too high.
Yes, sir.
So one thing we want to do is make sure we can address this in ways that the community can understand without the what we call medical jargon, without the clinician jargon. So everything we do is geared so it can be basically elementary so you can understand and to help our elders understand, help our youth understand. And that way we can be in the middle with the young children, the seniors, and the parents in the middle to be able to help.
Right.
Start recognizing these signs and drop that suicide rate.
Yes, sir. So what are some more signs? You know, I was thinking, me and Pastor C.T. Kirk and I, we was talking on last episode, and we were saying that, you know, I was sharing about if a brother come home and he's blowing up about everything, just excessive anger all the time. He's angry about everything. That there may be some trauma going on behind that issue because, you know, normally just because a dish was left at the sink or something was undone, we don't blow up about it all the time. But it's, I think, increased anger. So it's something to look for. Isolation is something to look for.
Absolutely. When you're talking about suicide or you talking about depression, those are telltale signs. When people start being standoffish and they don't want to interact or they don't want to go outside that room, that is a telltale sign of depression. And one thing we want people to understand, or I want people to understand, there is no cure for mental health. There is coping mechanisms. There are the signs that we just talked about where when you start seeing somebody back off where they used to have fun all the time, and now they're not. They're drinking excessively. Now they're doing dangerous things like drinking and driving, abusing drugs.
Wow.
Then that becomes they might not be suicidal, but they don't care whether they live or die. Now, notice why I said they're not suicidal. They don't care whether they live or die. How do I know that? Because that was a position I was in when I was going through my first divorce.
Wow.
A lot of times my practitioners say, did you feel suicidal? And I said, I didn't feel like ending my life, but I didn't care if my life ended. I didn't care if I got into it drinking and driving, I get killed. I didn't care if I got into an interaction with law enforcement and it ended badly for me. I didn't care because my mind was screaming out for help. And that's the thing. We start doing reckless things that's a sign of asking for help, but we don't know because we haven't been taught how to ask for help. And that's where we're coming in with mental health evolution to say, let us help you connect the dots. Let us help you look at this or get this presentation or look at this module so you can start connecting dots and having maybe some of those questions that you have answered. And that could open up that conversation.
So, Gail, I've used a little more nuggets today. I know I'm going to put some of your modules up on the screen, but give us a little more nuggets what we can do to, help further that problem, that system, that situation, and efforts to get some help, to go in there and talk to somebody, therapy, go get some treatment, go get some help.
I'll say, for starters, if you are at a job that offers EAP, absolutely utilize that. Most churches, cathedrals, mosques, they do have spiritual faith leaders that you can talk to. And again, when we're talking, and I'm gonna mention MHE because this is a tool that those organizations, the pastor, you mentioned your pastor, those modules he could utilize for when he's just talking to men at a conference or just having a men's group meeting to be able to show them, like, if you start recognizing these signs. So that's why those modules matter. So I think, again, having those faith leaders understand, like, your role in that faith aspect can connect with these programs and introduce these to the people that otherwise might not want to hear it from a clinician. They don't want to go to a clinician if they don't understand why. But if you can talk to them as a pastor, show them this module, show them the beauty of learning how to cope, resilience, then that may open them up to having that conversation with a clinician and realize that, I need therapy.
Yeah. For my viewers out there, you keep using the word MHE. MHE. What does that mean? Mental health evolution. But what does that mean to us?
Mental health evolution means, when I say evolving how we see, speak, and talk about mental health, because so many times the stigma is what people speak of. So we're trying to evolve it, because a lot of us in our communities, in our Black communities, we really don't know how to talk about mental health. Our elders don't know how to talk about mental health. So we're going to evolve how we see and talk about it. It's not going to be that stigma where if you talk about killing yourself, then that's what you're going to do. No, we're evolving from that because we're educated now. We understand that you can have that conversation with someone and you can ask about that. You can ask without worrying about if they're going to do it. So we're evolving and how we talk about it. We want this to be round table discussions at your dinner table. We want this to be, again, if you have a church, mosque, and you have a conference, we want you to have these conversations with your with the people in your congregation. We want you to have these conversations with other faith leaders. We want you to put it together and be able to help address this in the community, because it's a community issue and problem.
Yeah. Outstanding. Mr. Terrence, listen, I noticed your slogan say, and this is your slogan, which I really like it, evolving how we see, speak, and talk about mental health. What does that slogan say to us? What does that mean?
It said we are in the year 2026, and we can't have the thinking about mental health like it's 1726 or 1986 for that matter. Yeah. So what we want to do is bring all this new knowledge into the present and the future so our children can have a better understanding. Because when they have a better understanding, we'll have a better understanding as citizens to combat suicide, to combat depression, to combat schizophrenia. Because, again, all these things, there's no cure. It's managing. And then I always use as law enforcement. Why is CIT training important? Because we want an officer who's certified in that type of crisis to deal with that individual versus one who's not. Because if the officer has never been exposed to that CIT training, right, he or she may grab that weapon because the assailant or offender may be seen threatening. But if an officer has CIT training, they recognize, like, wait a minute, something's off here. I went through that training. I can tell that they did you have your medication today? No, I didn't take it. Then that officer because of training and
Know how to
education.
de-escalate.
Right. So that is a community effort for everybody to play their part. And again, we're trying to evolve how we see, speak, and talk about mental health.
Now, I know you describe these modules as non-clinical education models.
Yes, sir.
And but many people hear mental health and immediately we think about counseling and therapy, which that's what I've been. How is your program different, Brother Terrence?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked because my wife, she actually is a associate, right? And she asked me that one day. She said, "Well, what would be the difference?" I said, "Because clinicians are addressing the diagnosis. They're addressing if that client has schizophrenia, if that client has bipolar 2. What we do at MHE is we're opening your eyes to show you how those 4 pillars will impact that individual. We're telling you if you have a child with autism and you may know some of the things about autism, let's show you how it can be impactful, not just for your child, but as an adult. What's happening. So we're basically giving education so people can start making better choices and better decisions that when they do understand like, oh, this is schizophrenia can impact my mental health in this regard. So then when they go there have that conversation with their clinician, then they can say, well, how can I get my mind to slow down or how can I do this? And that clinician can have that conversation because of that diagnosis. So we just try to make sure we can connect the dots in a as I said, non-jargon way for clinicians to help their clients.
I really do, and I agree with you. I do believe education is a strong method of attacking and battling, not only in mental health, but in our life situation. Educate yourself. Read, study, talk to somebody about it. But the first pillar, I think you say, is neuroscience and mental health.
Yes.
And why should everyday people care about what is neuroscience and mental health?
Well, for us average everyday people, that's basically brain. How your brain impacts your mental health.
Right.
Now, why is that important? It's important because what I learned is you got the amygdala. That's the part of your brain that can get stuck in fight or flight. And if you have, I always use that example like, well, if you've been known to grew up into a neighborhood or conditioned to be in a neighborhood that's violent, drug dealing, guns, violence, you're being conditioned to be that way. And what happens is you always stuck in survival mode. So what happens is you can have neuroplasticity, which will actually help rewire your brain from thinking that you have to be stuck in that mode to, hey, I can do something else with myself and be a better person. Now, again, this is not clinical, so please don't go out there and say Terrence said my brain, but this is non-clinical, but it's just an example on how that brain works. And then we talk about the frontal cortex, and then you talking about other parts of the brain that impacts how we see things, how we view things. And it's just amazing because we all think like the brain is the central nervous system and it operates everything, but it goes back to, I'm going to go down from pillar 1 to pillar 4. Your nutrition, what you put in your gut impacts your brain.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't know that. So again, if you're eating the wrong foods at the wrong time, that can impact you, how your day's going. It can make you sluggish. It can make you feel lethargic. All these things are impactful, and that's why we want to talk about how we can evolve how we see it and get it into every household just as a tool for the families.
Right. And that's a great segue to the nutrition part. That's why my clock keep going off. I think our engineer Jamie over there looking like, right, what is that beeping on the? That's my phone going off, guys. That say, hey, Wade, you need to check your sugar, blah blah blah. But anyway, I do have it set. But anyway, just so it won't mess anybody up or confuse anybody what's actually happening here. So you was talking about the nutrition. What about physical health? What about exercise, sleep? How do that affect our mental health?
Well, when we talking about physical, we've just had this conversation about vitamin D going out there in the sun. One thing we do know is when COVID happened, people were isolated. Mental health issues increased. That's the fact. That's what the data told us.
Yes, sir.
Why? People weren't going out getting exercise, and the exercise part helps release those chemicals in the brain that helps us feel good. And that's why walking, that's why doing light, moderate exercise is always one of the things your doctors say, because it's just naturally that the body does things when we exercise. Now, to another point, what happens when we don't exercise? If you break your leg and you can't go out there and get no exercise in, and you can't walk right no more, depression can set in.
Yeah.
You break your arm and the doctor tell you, or you have to lose a limb, that can cause depression. Because think about it, if the doctor tell you physically we're gonna have to remove your arm, or someone you know has a stroke, physically they left side can't move or right side can't move, that could lead to depression. That could lead to other things, high blood pressure. All these things impact us. So working out, whether it's moderate, light, walk, jogging, all those things help us with that. Just releasing those beautiful chemicals that our brain has to help us feel better and help us feel good.
I'm gonna tell you, you led me into this segue here, and when you was talking about the broken bones and stuff. Why are we I want to keep dealing with our men, because I want our men to really understand what's happening here. We would go, if we got a broke leg, we got a broke arm, we'd go to the doctor to get it fixed. Why we won't do the same thing for that broken heart, or that broken spirit, or that broken mind mentally? Why would we not go get some help?
That's a great question. And my only answer, or in my opinion, would be because we don't know. Because we don't know that we can go get help for our mind. Help for our mind means it's just like I'm pivot back to exercise. Why do we exercise? Because that day you're going to feel broke down. But guess what? When you go to your doctor, you ate right, you exercise, you lost a little weight, it helps your blood pressure, it helps your cholesterol. So when we're talking about our mind, we've never been taught how to address our minds. We've never been taught how or why support groups matter. And that's when I always tell people, get involved with NAMI in that regards, because those support groups, as you just said, if you break your leg, the doctor not going to tell you to walk outside. They're going to either put you in that wheelchair or they're going to give you a cast, or they're going to give you crutches. That's support. Then they're going to tell you have to go to your physical therapist. What's the physical therapist job? To help you get your leg or your arm back to at least, if not 100%, close to 100% as possible. So with our minds, how do we do that? We do that by, you're going to hear me say MHE again, by getting educated, by learning coping mechanisms, by learning what to eat. Not necessarily, the modules ain't going to say what you should eat personally, but it opens up that dialogue with your nutritionist. It opens up that dialogue with your psychiatrist or your psychologist.
Wow.
Or you just learn that maybe I need to just, instead of eating fried chicken a day, eating ribs tomorrow, maybe I can substitute and have one of those a week and cut back.
Yeah, and that's a great point. When we was talking about exercise and stuff, for me, I think exercise is a strong start for my mental health. When I exercise, I can think clearer. But when I'm tired, man, I have these brain fogs. You be cranky. That's the craziest part for me. Just taking care of your physical body, just taking, and Jamie and I have this discussion all the time, because I tell him he really eats great, and I don't eat as well as he do, but poor physical health can contribute to anxiety and depression, I think.
It will. No, it will. That's a great statement, because it does. And that's when the nutrition aspect, and that's the thing that mental health evolution is trying to do. It's trying to just bridge that gap, because everything you mentioned, that's why we try to cover those 4 pillars, because a lot of us don't understand that they work together like a hand in glove. We don't understand that what we eat impacts our brain, whether we in depressed mood. We don't understand if I don't go get sunlight, that can impact your mood. We don't understand that when we're dealing with grief, there's certain things our brain is doing. We don't understand that because we're not educated on knowing it. So a lot of times people think, oh, I have to go to a therapist. That might be necessary. But getting just regular knowledge and education on how you can take baby steps at home to start addressing these things is what we're trying to fill that gap in. And we just want people to understand, like, you don't have to go to the clinician to get support. You can go through a NAMI support group. You can talk about MHE and learn why I'm an advocate for mental health and why I'm